I wanted to show you what I've been up to for the past few weeks. I've been making a lot of copper tableware, and I needed to have some things for some of the shows that are coming up this summer that had lower price points. I started out by making these 18 gauge copper candy bowls. These have simply been sunk into a depression on a log, with a ball peen hammer, and then I have finished and crinkled the edges on these. They make nice little dishes for, little cache pot. Here's a little larger one. I think those were like 5 inches, and this is probably a 6-inch copper disc that I started out with. So I have like a number of these. And a little while ago, I had been on Facebook, and I have a friend who's also a metalsmith, and he was doing a lot of fold forming. And I wanted to see if I could apply the fold forming to a vessel. So this is my first attempt. Fold forming is generally done in a very thin copper gauge. So this is like 24 gauge, which is really quite thin. But I was surprised at how hard it actually is. There's a little bit of flexibility to it, but after it's been worked, it's quite hard. This bowl has 5 ribs that were fold formed, and it was done basically from a flat piece, and I was able to get this much height out of it. I finished this bowl off by adding little silver balls to the points, which seemed to be fairly sharp, when they were done, and I chased into the bottom a little bit so that it had some sort of design work to it. The second attempt, this is a little bit larger piece. I sort of dispensed with the folding and used tools to make the ridges a little harder on this. This one also has chasing in the bottom, and there's little ball feet on here as well. So then I started to work with 20 gauge copper and make some bowls that were a little deeper. I started to, by raising the bowls maybe 2 or 3 times into a shape that got it to about 2 or 3 inches high. And then I used plasticine and a repoussé tool to put ribs in, because I wanted to put a number of ribs into bowls for a little more classic kind of finish. This one also has like a raised bottom in here, so it has like a nice little bowl. It's kind of like a pudding mold or a jello mold. But this one has 10 ribs in it, running around with the little scallops in between. And then this one, I tried for even more ribs. This one has 20 ribs in it, 10 of which go all the way to the bottom, or all the way to the base. And then there are median ribs which are only half as high on this piece, but it makes a nice little scalloped and still quite shallow dish. After that, I worked again with 20 gauge copper, and I wanted to raise things a little higher, so I raised this one into a piece that was about 3 inches high, and then I put ribs into this with a top slightly closed. I wanted to see if I could actually close the top with the ribs, and this brought it in a little bit, because when I first started out, these sides came up pretty straight. And I did another one, because I tend to run these things in batches. Whenever I do them, I try to make 2 or 3 pieces at a time. So I have a variety of ways to finish things. This one I closed just a little bit as I was getting finished with the raising. And then I decided, after I put the 10 ribs in, that I wanted to try to do some chasing on the sides. So it was filled with pitch, and then I put this very simple sort of spearhead and boss design, because I'm still trying to get these bosses to be really sharp for some of my silver work. And this came out kind of nice. There's a little bit of chasing on the bottom here as well. while I was working on these two bowls, I had the third piece in that. I divided into 5 parts again, and then tried to put large spaces in between to make it more voluminous. Have a little more space inside the bowl. And I wanted also to raise this up and try to make a kind of compote shape. This piece of copper here started out as a piece of plumbing from Home Depot. It was one of those pipe joiners that is 1 inch on one side and 2 inches on the other. So being 16 gauge, it was really hard to hammer out. But I managed to hammer the base out into a flat base, round out all of the hard corners in it, and then flare the top so that I could have a nice base for the compote. In the meantime, there's been another project on my bench top where I have a little dish that has a copper cover, and I finally decided how I wanted to finish this off. So this one was chased completely, to give it kind of a brocaded effect. This is the top to a little covered dish. It has a brass rim on it here now, which will hold it tight, into the bowl once it's finished. And when I was working on these two, I had my third piece, and for that piece, I wanted to try to put a geometric top onto it. So I have a square top on a round bottom. This one isn't quite finished yet because I intend to chase some animals and things around the edges, here. The last little set I started was after I had read a book on charka, and charka are Russian vodka cups. These don't look anything quite like them, but they're about the same size, and they go along with my wine cups that I'm making in silver. I raised these and then slightly closed the top so that they were kind of a bean jar shape. And then this one, I tried to put in rows of bosses, sort of like an urchin. And in the second one, I wanted to try to raise a horizontal band all the way around. It's a very difficult kind of thing to do. And it'll be really interesting if I can do maybe 2 or 3 of these in a row, going up the neck of a piece. This one also has 5 lobes in the bottom. They were pushed out with a hook hammer on a sandbag. And then I finished it up by putting this into a vise and chasing it. All of this kind of work was done without pitch. I did use some plasticine when I put the first ribs and bosses in, because that makes it very easy for me to pick up and move, so that I can keep working around the piece without having to remove pitch all the time. The last piece of this in this little series was another round vessel with a geometric top, and this time I put a pentagon on top of the wine cup. There are 10 little bosses, around the base, pushed out sides, a little chased border, and a geometric top. I think this came out, quite well. Very happy with it. Here's a small selection of some of the jewelry items I've been making as well. This is a fold-formed cuff, and it's made, with copper, and it has a center, valley, to it. I make these in different widths and sizes. And then there are some that have center ridges that are a little bit more simple in their form and shape. Some of the other things I've been making are these little silver dreidels. This one is Chinese copper, Chinese turquoise in pear shapes, and I have cut the letters out into the dreidel. It has some chasing on it. There's another one here with lapis lazuli on it in oval shapes. And here's another one with Chinese turquoise in green, a slightly smaller one with pierced letters and chasing. These are all sterling silver, and they're all signed and marked. This one is made with dichroic glass, which is a new material for me that I rather like. These glass are iridescent. They come in various colors, and they're really quite bright and eye-catching. This mixed metal dreidel has a copper base with pierced letters, brass columns, and then there are silver bezels and a silver knob on top. Some of the other things I've been making with the dichroic glass are these studs. I have a number of these sets, available. And this is a large piece. This is a brooch. It has dichroic glass in 2 colors. There's a sterling silver base with granulation and chasing on it. It can also be worn as a pendant because it has a bail on top. This piece is also signed and marked $9.25 for sterling silver.